Hi everyone, welcome to Camp for Happiness. It's awesome to see you all tuning in again. I'm Patrick, and today we're diving back into the auxiliary heater in the VW California T6.1. So, part 2 regarding the know-how about the air auxiliary heater. Last week, I already shared quite a bit with you about the air auxiliary heater here, or rather about auxiliary heaters in general, including the different types available, the differences between immediate heating and continuous heating, as well as troubleshooting solutions if the auxiliary heater has actually locked up. And the knowledge, I'm assuming it for this video. If you missed that part, simply open up the video description below for more detailed information. I'll link it there again for you. Today, there are more tips and info about the air auxiliary heater, the temperature levels, and the remote control. And if you're curious to find out which heating level roughly matches which temperature in degrees Celsius, you should definitely stay tuned and keep watching. Since the difference between immediate heating and continuous heating should now be clear, let's first focus on the temperature levels. If you're wondering whether it's normal for the auxiliary heater to turn on and off occasionally even in continuous heating mode, I can reassure you, yes, it's normal. Let's activate the continuous heating mode now and choose level 5 for it. This will take a moment, but then the heating process will start, provided the preset temperature for level 5 hasn't been reached yet. You can hear it already, the heating process is starting. Yes, and level 5 means roughly an interior temperature of approximately 19 degrees. If it's currently below 19 degrees in the van, it'll begin heating up until that specific temperature level is fully reached. If it's 19 degrees or slightly above, the heating turns off. If the interior temperature drops once more, the heating system reactivates. That means if the heating keeps switching from on to off, or from off to on and so on, that's perfectly normal and expected behavior. The heating doesn't switch off precisely at 19.0 degrees and turn back on at exactly 18.9 degrees. There's a certain leeway built in, otherwise the heating would be constantly switching between on and off every minute. How big that leeway is, I unfortunately don't know, but the goal is to maintain an average of 19 degrees, naturally with values both below and above. If you, for example, measure the temperature over many or several hours, then the average value should be around 19 degrees. That's what is meant by this. So you should now know which level corresponds to how many degrees Celsius. I'll go ahead and display the temperature levels here at the bottom for you. I'll also include all the values in the description below, so you can copy them easily, and don't forget to give it a thumbs up while you're there. These are all approximate values, but at least you have a solid reference point to work with. I could never make sense of just being told level 3 or level 6 before. And why VW refers to it in levels instead of just degrees Celsius? Well, that remains their secret. I don't know, but now you've got the temperatures corresponding to each individual level. That's why the whole thing becomes a bit simpler now. When it comes to heating, most of it, or everything, should be sorted out by now. And if you now go into the settings in the camper unit, there's also the function for ventilation in the operating mode. To change the operating mode, the ignition needs to be turned on, and then you can easily switch here from the air heater to ventilation, and it'll automatically go back to the previous setting. With that, as the function suggests, you can ventilate or provide a bit of cooling, for instance, if you're dealing with scorching heat inside the van. As explained in the last video, the mode setting applies specifically and solely to immediate heating functions. Whereas in this case, it should actually be called immediate ventilation. There is no function for continuous ventilation. That's very important to know. So setting it to ventilation and then selecting continuous heating below doesn't help, because it really only heats. So ventilation refers to the set time, and after that, the ventilation turns off again. But you can ventilate by adjusting the settings and switching to immediate heating mode. I'll do that now. So into the auxiliary heating, then to the operating mode. As we saw earlier, make sure it's set to ventilate. Go back to the arrow. After a brief moment, it will then automatically switch over to the immediate heating mode down here. As I mentioned, it will now make sense once the operating mode has been switched that it says instant ventilation here. But well, that's VW software ... This only works for the set duration though, so it definitely doesn't work permanently. And at this point, once again, the reminder, attention, be careful with the immediate heating function. I explained that to you in detail in the last video. If you ventilate, nothing happens down here at the outlet. It only has the function to heat. You can already hear the rushing sound here at the front because the cool air comes out of the vents here at the front. So all the way to the right, all the way to the left, and here in the middle. So essentially, it's the same as when you're driving and actively using the car's air conditioning system to cool things down inside. If you want to heat up immediately, the operating mode and duration that were last set will always be automatically selected. So if ventilation is still selected and you switch to immediate heating because you want to heat, then you need to quickly check what's still set. Now, as for the remote control, with it you can activate the auxiliary heater and also deactivate it again. Here, let me show it to the camera. So activate it down here, deactivate it up here, nothing more, nothing less. But it's important to know that activating here precisely corresponds to selecting immediate heating in the camper unit. You can't activate continuous heating through the remote control, meaning only immediate heating is possible, using the settings that were last set in the camper unit. Of course, along with all the potential issues that the immediate heating function might bring along with it. That's something you need to know. So, when camping, I'd say, leave the remote alone and activate continuous heating via the camper unit. One use for the remote control would be, you're at home, the bully is parked in the yard, you're looking out the window, it's snowing, and it's bitterly cold. Yes, then you can use the remote to preheat your California accordingly, so you can step into a warm and cozy car later on without any hassle. If you still have questions, feel free to write them in the comments below. In the video description, you'll also find some links to equipment, which we use and which products we prefer. Now, I'd be curious to hear if the video was helpful for you and what kind of experiences you've had so far with the auxiliary heater system in place. And if you enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate it if you could give it a thumbs up. If you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, you're more than welcome to catch up on that right now. Just click here on YouTube, down below, on the red subscribe button and the little bell right beside it. That way you won't miss any new videos here at Camp 4 Happiness in the future. Otherwise, you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. Feel free to check me out there as well. With that said, that's a wrap for now. Till next time, take care. Patrick, bye.